Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Purple Insider. Matthew Coller here, and it is time once again for Jeremiah Sirles, former Minnesota Viking and Tuesday morning left guard, as we get a real thorough, hardcore breakdown of what happened last night between the Vikings and the Bears. What happened is the Vikings are freaking 12-2. Jeremiah, thoughts, reactions?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you look at where we were from the start of the season to where we are now, to talking and watching the National Football League yesterday going, oh, the Detroit Lions, they don't look very good. Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers just got squashed. Then you watch Sunday night or Monday Night Football and you're like, dude, the Vikings are rolling. And even if it wasn't pretty, right? And that's when you really start talking about a team that's got it all together. I mean, Justin Jefferson drops a wide open walk-in touchdown. Sam Darnold doesn't look as sharp as he's been over the last few games, but the game was never in question. There was never once in that game where I was like, "Oh, the Bears were letting them hang around," right? That just shows me that the Vikings are hitting their stride. They are hitting stride in late December, talking about number 1 overall seed, bye week, road to the Super Bowl, goes through Minneapolis, right? All this stuff is coming together, and it's just so much fun because for years you and I have had to sit here talking about a 8-8 football team or a first round team that we don't really think has the talent to go all the way. And here we are saying this team could legitimately win the Super Bowl this year. And it's just so much fun to talk about for our Vikes, man.
It is. And I don't want to spend very much time on the Chicago Bears, but
No,
whoa,
no.
yikes. I think that's where you can just leave the analysis there. You watched the game back on tape. Was it
Yep.
as bad for Caleb Williams as I thought it was in the moment?
Yes, it was. So I actually rewatched the entire game from the All 22 this morning, and Caleb is, I don't know if he's blind. I don't know what's happening, but I mean, there is receivers standing over the middle of the field like this with no one around them. And he decides, I'm going to run and jump from nobody and try and I just think he's rattled. Troy Aikman hit it on the thing. He's defeated, right? And it may be time to just say, hey, you know what, Caleb, this didn't work this year. Let's have a seat. Let's put Tyson Bagent out there, see what happens, because at this point, I think you're doing him more harm than good putting him out there week after week.
Thought it was really telling when Caleb Williams scrambled around. He really did jump over
No
no
one.
one and then got laid out by Jihad Ward. I just want to throw it out there. If you think you could get a couple of yards in the league, just watch that play because I don't think you'd survive. But he takes a really massive hit from Jihad Ward. And in real time, I was looking around for who was going to go pick him up. And the answer was no one. And there was the picture, and Art Made It Sports, that whole account that, looks back at historical art of him just laying flat on his back, and no one comes over. And we double checked this on the All 22 to see, was I remembering this correctly? The receivers are frustrated. Their offensive line is clearly got to have enough about at this point of him. And I think Chicago, after that type of showing and last week as well, they should be really concerned with the resiliency of their young quarterback. And I just want to say, yeah, I know.
roll around on the bench in pain. Oh,
you think
bad.
You think it's tough? Caleb, try podcasting through 2020 and 2021 Vikings.
Come on.
Then you'll find out how hard it is. But it goes back to when he's coming out in the draft. They acted like this person was just the next Mahomes, and he was flawless and he was untouchable. And one thing that really sets off flares in my brain is when coaches get blamed for everything. And I'm watching this coach draw up open wide receivers and the quarterback's not throwing it. There is 2 coaches who've already gotten fired. And if Caleb Williams was even remotely good, they would still have their jobs at this point, and that team would have more wins and more competitiveness. But he, at this moment, is kind of everything that we talked about leading into the draft. That would be a major concern about him. The way he handled some tough losses, which was flopping himself on the bench and quitting on his team. The way that he, that's tough. The way that he is fair, but it's tough. The way that he scrambles around and just doesn't stay with his reads and can't see the field. And you got 6'4" Jaden Daniels balling. You got 6'4" Drake May balling. It's just, maybe some of this stuff should have been taken more into account. I know they had to draft him because he was labeled this, but we need to stop calling people generational, honestly.
Oh, that word in draft season is the most overused, maybe besides late day 3, right? that big is always when you're talking to, hey, he's a late day 3 guy. I mean, I can't tell you the draft must have 800 picks for everyone I talk to that's a late day 3 pick. But you're exactly right. So much of the NFL is it's not this, oh, we can work the flaws out of him and you get in the NFL. You're entering into higher stress, higher competitive, higher everything. It's just going to exuberate all the flaws, right? Very rarely do I see a guy that you go, man, he's got some flaws in college, get to the NFL and be like, oh, he fixed them in year 1. Everything's great. Caleb, my man, this is a tough place to be. And when you're in the quarterback position, you are a leader, right? You're the leader. Everyone looks to you, including the media, including the ownership, including everyone. And when you're flopping around like a fish on the sideline and Troy Aikman's going, oh, God, look at this guy. Not good, bud. Not good. And I'll tell you this, if I'm Ben Johnson, I don't want that train wreck. If I'm a high caliber coach for next year, am I looking at that going, yeah, I'm willing to stake my head coaching career on that guy? No, thank you. They're going to have to overpay a coach to come in there. I believe that.
Okay, here's the question. Is exuberate a word? That's a question. Let's take a look here. How do you
Exuberate's a
say
word. I don't know.
exuberate? Let's see.
Don't test my vocabulary.
Exuberate. Okay, to become exuberant. It is a word. How about that? Congratulations.
Hey, of all the names that I can't pronounce, I have exuberant in there.
I exuberant, sure, but exuberate, that one I wasn't 100% sure.
That's fair.
So Bears, that's someone else's problem to cover. But as far as
Rip Courtney Cronin, sorry.
Yeah, oh man. Oh, she is in hell over there. But that'll teach her. That'll teach her to move. So I want to play a little game with you. I want to do something serious.
Okay.
Of course, and talk about the most
very
important.
Serious podcast.
We're going to make a list of 5 most important players down the stretch here to the Vikings. But first, it is completely unreasonable to pimp this home run, talk trash about the Vikings being where they are, because none of us really thought that this was going to happen. But who cares about being reasonable? Let's talk some trash. Let's just talk some trash about the 12-2 Minnesota Vikings. Hey, Las Vegas, are you going to have to shut down a casino over there for how bad you are at your job? 6.5 wins, just this far, just a little bit outside, right? Just barely missed the edge of that strike zone. Whoops. What do you think? Because we thought they would be a lot better than 6.5 wins. Yes. What do you think that the gambling universe missed, or the projection universe missed so epically bad about this team?
I think they missed the overall talent level on the offensive side of the ball, right? I think, if you looked at last year and saw what Josh Dobbs was able to come in and do, Nick Mullins was able to come in and do with the supporting cast around them, you would think anyone with a pulse that's a competent quarterback could come in and operate this thing to a 500 type season, right? They're just too talented on the offensive side of the ball. You got the best receiver in the NFL, one of the best tight ends. You go add Aaron Jones in the offseason, 2 bookend tackles that both would be Pro Bowlers if Darisaw was still healthy, possibly an All-Pro. You can't just say, oh, the quarterback's going to come in at Sam Darnold. He is so washed. He's so terrible. He's essentially like a CJ Beathard, or he's like a guy that can't even throw the football. That dude was a top first-round pick for a reason. Like, they went back and showed some of his workout from USC when he was coming out and thrown in the rain. And you're like, I forgot. This dude was a dude at USC. They just did not understand that with the offensive talent that we have, paired with a brilliant coach in Kevin O'Connell, bringing in a quarterback that was probably going to be middle of the road regardless. He wasn't going to be trash. And he wasn't going to be great when we thought we brought him in. But then to have that ability to do that, I think Vegas didn't think it was possible.
I think they didn't understand also that the dude who wears number 18 can just make kings out of normal men. And Darnold's not even a normal man, but I mean, he made Nick Mullins look great. They were in real games last year, should have won against Cincinnati. They blew that game.
Yep.
And that was Jefferson doing his thing, and then really special performances against the Lions. And with Darnold, I think they also missed that Sam Darnold's recent performance leading up to joining the Vikings, which was a fill-in game in San Francisco where he was good, and then the end of Carolina where he was good. And if you do a really deep dive on his stats and look at the parts that can kind of be controlled, when he was throwing to DJ Moore, when he was using play action, when he actually got blocking, how did this guy perform? When he wasn't trailing in games and desperately trying to come back, what did it look like? It looked like, and I did a study on this, it looked like a much better quarterback than just pulling up his box score stats. And I think that was part of it. I also think that no one ever heard of Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, and Andrew Van Ginkel. I just think no one had any idea who these people were. And like, I don't know, Darnold's their quarterback. They can't be good. Friends, gifting is hard, but here's a hint. Give the gift of connection from US Cellular. Not sure what that means? Here's a slightly more specific hint. You could choose 4 free phones and get 4 lines for $90 a month from US Cellular. Your family wants new phones? How do we know? They told us. The good news is that compared to wrapping presents, you're great at taking hints. So take a hint and get 4 free phones and 4 lines for $90 a month. US Cellular, built for us.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And the reason I believe the defensive side is you just put one of those guys in there, it's probably not a big deal. The combination of those guys, and you add Ivan Pace, an undrafted free agent rookie last year, going into his second year as a starter now. You add Harrison Smith as a veteran. You add Stephon Gilmore. Like the combination of the whole on the defensive side of the ball is really their success. It's not you're focused around one player, right? It's not, hey, you have a TJ Watt, you have a Myles Garrett, right? You had a Daniil Hunter. Oh, you let him walk. What are you doing? Right? All that stuff. But the combination of the whole, they are the epitome of team defense. Everyone does their job. Guys show up in their moments. You got fill-in guys like Ward or Bullock that are playing big time moments, big time games. You have guys that have to fill in and spot start that are showing up more and more. They just have figured out a way, and that's a testament to Brian Flores and what he can do. You know, team defense, superstars on offense. It was really going to be hard for this team to fail miserably like a 6-win season.
I mean, think about this. The New York Giants last year with Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor, they won 6. It is hard if you're actually trying to end up with fewer than 6.5 wins. The division was factored in for how tough it was. But as far as what they missed, last part is that the Vikings have a good kicker. No, I'm just kidding. Sort of. The kicking has been fantastic, but
good.
They missed coaching matters so much in this league. I mean, look around who's in the playoffs. Once again, it's all the same coaches that are always in the playoffs. Here's the Indianapolis Colts with whatever they're doing over there, flinging passes across the entire field with receivers, getting picked off and run for touchdowns. Meanwhile, Sean Payton's got the bleep-eating grin going to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. It's like, well, turns out the guy probably knows what he's doing. Here's a Harbaugh. Here's another Harbaugh. Even heck, Todd Bowles is a pretty good and proven coach in the league. He's got a team rolling. It's like, yeah, it's the same guys over and over again that are always in the playoffs. And the Vikings, they got 2 of them guys. Hey, Miami, Brian Flores might have a higher win percentage. I think he actually does than Mike McDaniel. So I don't know. Like maybe they've got some coaches that know what they're talking about. What trash you want to talk? You got some trash? I mean, you were a Viking, so like you're more qualified than me.
I'll tell you this. I have a lot of Packers friends, and it's really fun to look at them and go, man, how does it feel to be third in the division? Right? Like in a division, you guys all off season, do you see Jordan Love? Do you see how he finished the year last year? That guy's going to be great. He's going to be the next one. And then to look and be like, you guys, I mean, you're going to have to work for these playoffs now. You're going to have to go on the road. Like, yeah, we'll get 3 teams in, but you're the 3rd team, right? Like, how does that feel? And they just sit there and it just drives them. Well, just wait. It's like, no, it's over. The Vikings are better than you. You just have to accept that with Sam Darnold. Guess how much he's making? 10. How much is your 55? That's just tragic, right? It's fun to be able to compare and contrast the pieces that are paid, right? And you look and you're like, oh, we got a bargain on a guy that's playing better than your guy. Oh, we have 18. Oh, yeah, you guys. Oh, that's right. Jaron Reed had 0 catches the other day. That's weird, right? It's really fun to poke fun at the Packers fans right now. I love it.
They are a very sensitive bunch, but I'm not sure I want to go there with you on
Come
the
on,
talking trash of the Packers
poke
because
them.
there's still another contest to be played between these two teams, and credit where it's
But
due. Jordan Love's been playing excellent football, and I think more than anything, here's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, why don't you wait till December 30th or whatever to do the trash? I'm gonna exuberate after that, but their defense is actually really coming around. And in the past, you could always say, well, they'll probably melt because their defensive coordinator has the defense line up across the goal line and wait for the other team to get there. I mean, I think that
but
they're rolling.
but what fun is it to talk trash after you've
Oh,
won?
right. Yeah, good
Right?
point.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna talk trash, you gotta put it up front. You gotta put it up front and plant the flag and say, "No, we're better than you. Watch us." Oh, and then when you beat them, the ability to double down is even better, right? When because they're saying the same thing, right? There's one more game, just you wait. And then the day after, you hit those text messages and you start sending out the box score, you start sending out everything, and you just double down and get the crickets. Now, I will be said, you do set yourself up for some rebuttals. Right, you can set yourself up, but that's the fun in it, Matthew. You got to talk the trash before it happens.
Yeah, you've had been a victim of a few rebuttals with
For sure,
Nebraska, maybe from time to
100%. I
time.
got to wear an Iowa shirt next year. It
Yeah,
happens, right?
yes, I
But you
saw that.
got to talk the trash beforehand.
Oh, that's a good point. Just from the objective standpoint, though, the Green Bay Packers, I think, belong in the conversation for the best teams in the league because it's how you're playing right now and who you are right now. I guess if you were going down that NFC North trash talking route, I might ask who plays for your team, Lions. Hey, do you need a defensive tackle? You're a big guy. Maybe you could fill in and play defensive tackle. Oh, I thought that this was your year. Dan Campbell, can you scream a defensive tackle into
Oh,
existence?
man.
Can you bite someone's ankle to make him exist on defense? They couldn't stop nothing. No pressure on the quarterback. Couldn't stop. The easiest hire I've ever picked on underdog was James Cook in that game. They are not stopping anybody from running the football. Bang. Earned $26 doing that.
I mean, all you have to do is go, well, you kicked an onside kick with 12 minutes left. So if that tells me any state of how much you believe in your defense right now, I don't really think you could say much more of, yeah, we weren't going to stop him. So we just tried the most lowest percentage of success rate play in the NFL.
And yet it wasn't even an unjustifiable decision at the time. That's
Like,
how bad it is right
I
now.
get it. And I feel bad a little bit for the offense of Detroit because, man, they're so fun to watch and they're running up and down, but they're going to have to score 40 plus to win from here on out. And when you enter into the playoffs, it's not going to happen. Those teams are just too good. You're going to run into a healthy Eagles team. You're going to run into a healthy Vikings team. And now you might not even get the bye, right? I mean, for all year, everyone's been like, Detroit will get the bye. The city's going to run through Detroit. If there's a team that needs a bye more than anyone in the NFL, I don't know them. They need that horribly. But I think it's all going to come down to week 18 of who's going to get that bye, whether it's Detroit or Minnesota.
There's also an important factor with their defense, which is that Aaron Glenn plays a lot of man. I've kind of thought that their defense has looked like when Aaron Glenn played football in the NFL a lot of times. But if you got guys who could play man, that actually will work. But when the Bills, and this was just a great job by their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, did a tremendous job here. They had, I think it was a 4th down or a key 3rd down. They just lined up 3 guys on the right side, and they ran one of those pick plays where the inside guy runs around the outside guys. And here's Detroit's poor cornerback who probably just got there chasing after somebody, wide open pass down the sideline. I mean, it's just, if you're going to play man, you better have great players who can cover. And Carlton Davis was one of them. And now he's not. So I do feel like, yeah, the jaw. I do feel like the matchup would benefit greatly the Vikings because they play a defense that the Vikings have shredded apart through the years with Kevin O'Connell and even going back to Kirk, really. But since Campbell and O'Connell have been there, and they don't have the dudes to do it. And they're just gonna press Justin Jefferson. With whom though? Well, they're gonna double team him. Yeah, but if the guys aren't good, like the way Chicago in that first matchup handled him was with a good player. So that's not something you can do unless they're good. The matchup right now, I would lean toward the Vikings if those two teams were playing in the playoffs right now.
I agree with you. And, I think I would lean towards the Eagles as well if those two teams were playing right now for all the similar reasons. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley, right? I mean, there's so many teams. You look at the NFC, you even look at the Rams, right? Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, like all these teams that are getting kind of some momentum heading into the playoffs here have some really dynamic receivers. And you talk about a team that's really struggling on the back end with injuries and defense. The Lions are at the top of that list. And you never want to limp your way into the playoffs. Ask the Eagles last year, right? They just kind of barely limped their way in and then they got out quickly. That's what's going to happen to the Lions, in my opinion, if they cannot figure some of these injuries out and get some pieces in there. The problem is it's December 17th. Like there's not dudes just hanging out on the street ready to come in and give you meaningful snaps and 40, 50 snaps a game. It might just be too little too late for the Lions, unfortunately, to ruin an absolutely magical season that they've been having.
And on offense, they deserve all the credit that they get. They are that good. They are that tough to stop. So I would not count them out. But if they have to play 4 playoff games, it's just hard to see what happened in Buffalo not happening again to them. Let me talk some trash to the Eagles. No, I'm not going to do that. First of all, my safety, that's important.
Yes.
If I have to go there, we know about that.
They'll find you.
The other thing is I think they're just really good. I think that them and the Vikings, they probably have the edge right now over the Vikings. You could talk some trash to the Jets and to the Panthers for allowing Sam Darnold to be here. And I couldn't help but think about, as I'm watching, Darnold, they clinch the playoffs, they get their 12th win. He doesn't play his best game, but he did a great job of not playing his worst game, which I think is really important. Right? The other defense is doing some good things. Maybe you're not locked in. And yet, check down to Aaron Jones. First down. Great job. Underneath to TJ Hockenson. Great job. But Jets and Panthers. How did you blow this? Look at this man throw. There's a throw from yesterday. You know what I'm talking about. In the red zone to Justin Jefferson.
Window is this big.
Through a freaking keyhole. He drops back, and when he goes to throw this ball, you don't even see Jefferson in the all 22 from behind because he throws it with so much anticipation and leading him into that spot. And if it's not going 700 miles an hour with flames behind it, the linebacker probably knocks it away, but it is. You've also seen the way he's been a leader, the way that he has been teachable and coachable. I don't know what it is you guys did wrong with Sam Darnold, but it looks pretty good to me. Great job. Well done, Jets and Carolina Panthers.
I mean, we know it was Robbie Chosen and our boy from Limestone State. That would be the reason why. And it just goes back to your quarterback's only as good as your supporting cast. And that goes back to what I said earlier of why the Vikings have so much success. Their offense is incredible. And it doesn't matter if you're the greatest schemer known to man. If you don't have the dudes that can go out there and win one-on-one matchups and get open and create separation, you can be the most talented quarterback in the world. It's not going to matter. Right? Or you have an offensive line that's like a leaky dam and you're just getting hit all the time. It's not going to matter. Right. So, yeah, hats off to you guys for ruining a young quarterback. But he went to the Vikings quarterback rehabilitation program, which Daniel Jones has just checked into as well. And who knows? We will see how he goes. But I'll tell you this, his price is going up every single week. I really do. And I don't think the Vikings are going to pay it unless we do go win the Super Bowl, whatever. But someone will pay him $50+ million next year. I really believe it. I really do if he continues to play this well throughout the stretch.
There's a picture of Caleb Williams looking at Kevin O'Connell like, please save me. Like, hey, you got to wait till 2031. We got a long line, buddy.
Rehab's on a wait list, pal. Rehab's on a wait list.
Oh man. This how everybody try. It's like
you probably text JJ like, what's it like over there? Just send me some pictures. Is it as cool as they say it is?
McCarthy sends him the virtual reality and it's just like, damn. It's like the donut shop when it gets real popular. It's In and Out in Los
Yep.
Angeles. It's just the
Yep.
cars around the corner. It's
Meanwhile, he's
Christian
like,
Hackenberg's back there.
yeah,
Like,
Eberflus
hey,
said he'd never leave me.
you guys take me. Zach Wilson's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I think about this Sam Darnold game against Chicago, because when
Yes.
you look at the box score, it's like,
Not great.
not good. And even some of the tape, you go, hey, Sam, that throw was there. There's an out route to, I think, Jefferson. Like
Yep.
that should have been there.
Ooh, way
There's
high.
one to Addison where he's crossing the field. I mean, put it on him, and it's a big play. But the fact that he could have a game that was tough, and I did not think his decision making was bad at all. And I thought that he never got shook. Again, we're just reaching the point where you can't shake Sam Darnold. They did not protect very well. And this is one thing that I'd love your comment on, because it's getting a little leaky up there, especially at the left guard position. And then Cam Robinson didn't know the snap count all night or whatever. And Darnold impresses me more and more with his pocket navigation. And earlier in the season, we were going, Sam, get rid of the ball. Oh my God, get rid of the ball. But he did not take sacks in this game. He did not take risky throws. I don't know if he had a turnover worthy play, but it didn't look like it to me. That is the progression. To have a bad game where you play good enough to win, though, and you don't throw the game away. That's the real growth with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, because we can't expect him, because it's not fair to expect anyone in the NFL to be lights out every single game. It's NFL. The guys get paid a lot of money. It's human nature. You ride up, you ride down, unless you're the greats of the greats. But what you can expect out of a quarterback is how to take care of the football, right? Ask Will Levis how well that's going for him. Dude just got benched after 10 turnovers or whatever it was. It would have been really easy for Sam to force some things last night because he didn't feel like he was having a good game, or he felt like he had to just I got to be better, whatever it might be. But he just took care of the football, made good decisions. But the protection, back to your point, has got to get better, because yes, the Bears have Sweat and they have some dudes on the edges, but you watched Philly's D line lately. You watched LA's D line lately. Those dudes are hunters and they are coming. We need to shore up some things big time. I'll tell you this, my heart dropped into my stomach when I saw Brian O'Neill get hurt last night. I mean, deep into my stomach, like, oh my gosh, if we lose both tackles, we're in a lot of trouble as we try and go down the stretch here. So glad he's okay. But I think people are starting to figure Blake Brandel out a little bit, get him right out in space, widen out on him, make him move his feet, coming across his body, really struggling with the cam and him to pass off stunts. And that's to be expected. When you have new tackle, used to working with the greatest and Darisaw, and now it's not quite the same. The chemistry is just not quite there. So they're going to get stunted to death, because if you open up Pandora's box of stunts, you're going to see it over and over and over again until you get it fixed. So that's a big issue going on over there. And then, on the right side, O'Neill's holding his own, doing great. But if he's a little dinged up, that's going to be an issue too. So Sam's just going to continue to have to understand what is in front of him. What's the matchup I'm going against every week? What's my internal clock this week? Is it 2? Is it 1.5? Is it 3? Whatever it might be, he's just going to have to keep developing with that every single week, because it is a little bit leaky up front than I would like to see it in December.
I also think from the left side in Brandel that we're seeing that it's very hard to play a full season, that he had not played 17 games ever. He's never had this type of workload, and it's been years since he was an Oregon State tackle. And I also think, is this right or wrong? The guards, as far as the physical exertion, it feels like the guards have a lot more, like in terms of stamina. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but they're taking instant smacks to the face over and over again. They're usually the guys who are pulling. It just feels like it could be rather than dropping back into pass protection, trying to get a block, like a lot of physical stuff that's going on there instantly at the line of scrimmage over and over again, which is probably wearing him down more than he's ever had to deal with before.
Yeah, that's a very fair statement. It's one of those things where if you're not used to doing it for an extended period of time, it's hard to build that resiliency. It's hard to build that conditioning, right? And so it's not unusual to see a guy like that start to fade a little bit towards the end of the year when you really don't want him to, but it's just the nature of having a first year starter, right? Usually you see it in rookies, especially rookies, right? They get to week 12, they get to 14 and they're like, this is bull prep time. Why am I still doing this? Right? Like, oh no, buckle in, 4 more weeks. right? So you're starting to see a little bit of that out of him, but I also just think he's got a lot of tape out now, right? And defensive linemen are very smart, and defensive line coaches are very smart, and they'll have rush plans, and they'll have, hey, here's what he's really struggled with. Let's test him early on that and see if he's got it fixed. And if he's is, then here's what we want to get to, right? You can't underestimate how smart D linemen are when it comes to a rush plan perspective. Right. A lot of time you think guys just are out there just like, oh, I'm just going to rush the passer off my athleticism. But these dudes have crazy rush plans. I've seen it written down from guys like Everson or B Rob of, hey, first third down, this is what I want to try and hit him with so I can set up this on the second third down. Or, hey, this is what he struggled with. So we're going to spin early, but then we're going to come back with a fake spin into a dip, right? They have these rush plans put together when you go against guys because that's how you play the game within the game. And right now, a lot of people have a rush plan on Blake Brandel.
Yeah, and I think Seattle, this is going to be a huge challenge for them.
Leonard Williams.
Yep, and Boye Mafe, and they can get after the passer there. And if there's one thing to be really concerned about with Seattle, other than they have good receivers, it is that they have a really good rush plan, really good defensive line that can create pressure. So you're not out of the woods just because you're going out to play a team that is coming off of a tough loss against the Green Bay Packers. And these are things that have to be resolved. So last tiny bit of trash talk for me. All the front offices that have tried competitive rebuilds, better luck next time. I mean, the Tennessee Titans signing Tony Pollard and trading for L'Jarius, the dude is broken, Sneed, and giving him all this money and trying to just free agency their way there. Whoops. Didn't work out for a lot of those teams. How about the Raiders? They thought they were going to win.
Oh,
The Raiders thought they were going to win. They ain't winning.
they
made moves to be competitive and have not been remotely competitive. The Vikings are the very rare bird that were able to pull off the competitive rebuild. And the only other team that I could think that did this recently was actually Philly, moving from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts. They tanked one game where they took Hurts out of the game and Doug Peterson got fired. But the next year they were 9-8. They never had to really tank. And then the next year after that, they're in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's very similar with the Vikings. They acquired outside talent, A.J. Brown. They did hit on some draft picks, but they also went out into free agency and went out into the trade market and got players to stack up. I mean, Saquon Barkley to stack up their team. Not too many others who have had successful competitive rebuilds.
No, and it's a hard thing to divvy a competitive rebuild when you're paying someone top dollar. Right. I think that was the issue forever with the Vikings with Kirk is like you could never rebuild when you're paying a quarterback this much money. It's the issue Dallas is going to run into. It's the issue that the Bengals are going to run into, right? When you're paying a quarterback and a receiver or a quarterback and an edge rusher, or, if you have two or three guys taking up 35% of the cap, you're never going to be competitive and you're never really going to be rebuilding. You're always going to kind of be in this no man's land of we're going to be in 8-8 football team or 8-9 football team or whatever it is. So yeah, competitive rebuild. I wish that would just go out the window and you're either going to be competitive or you're going to rebuild. You don't get both.
Saints, they tried it.
They tried. Derek Carr.
Not great. All right. So I want to rank the most important people for the Vikings. We'll just say players. We know Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores.
Yes.
I also want to say Matt Daniels, some stuff to get together there on the special teams, but the most important players on the roster going forward over these last three games. And Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold are off the table.
Yes. Okay.
It's just too obvious. Where would you like to begin that list?
I'm going to start with Brian O'Neill, obviously. I think that him being healthy down the stretch is going to be really important because all the things we just laid out earlier of, hey, Brandel, Robinson, you're going to want Bradbury to slide that way. You're going to want to give some help that way. You can't do that if you don't have full faith in the right tackle to lock dudes down, right? So he is going to be number one on my list. Cannot, non-negotiable. He goes out. I give our chances very low. No offense to DQ. Walter Rouse is a rookie. Haven't seen you do it since Oklahoma. Doesn't give me a ton of faith there. So Brian O'Neill's my number one pick.
I think Brian O'Neill is a great pick because on the right side, hey, Dalton Reisner's played really good football over the last few weeks. Really good in pass protection again, and a much better right guard than what he replaced. So if you can at least have one side that you feel pretty good about, and the other side is not horrendous, but it's rickety, it's shaky. It's imperfect. It solidifies that. And the drop off to the next guy is so enormous that I don't think they could go forward without him. I'm going to throw out a gentleman who has not been playing. That is Ivan Pace Jr. Great job by Josh Metellus in this game. He was a beast. He was everywhere. That was the Josh Metellus that we saw a lot of last year, and he did a good job filling in at linebacker. But their blitzes are not the same without Ivan Pace Jr. Jamin Davis is trying. They're throwing a lot of people out there. Kamu Grugier-Hill's trying, but he is an exceptional player. And over the last few weeks, we've seen the difference in the run, where I thought they could have tracked down DeAndre Swift a few times if they had Ivan Pace. And really, the blitz game is enormous. I'm putting him toward the top of my list when he returns, which Kevin O'Connell said he's on track, should be okay to return. His window opens next week. But we've seen in his absence the importance of him in this lineup.
Yeah, I was watching. So again, I have the center for the Seahawks, right? So we were watching some Vikings tape this morning. We watched the Bears game. Then I went back and was like, hey, let's watch some of the Rams game. Man, it is a noticeable difference when Zero is on the field. Just not just the way he blitzes, but it's the physicality that he blitzes with, right? It's the running back that's going to meet him in the A gap, and that's going to hurt, and that's going to wear on him. And that's going to wear him down over the course of a 4-quarter stretch. So I agree with you. Him getting back elevates our blitz game to a whole nother level, just from a physicality standpoint of pushing the pocket from the interior, the whole bit there. Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Grenard. I think this is a dude that is finding ways to get to the quarterback using a bunch of different tools, whether it's his get off, whether it's the spin move. And when you get deep into the playoffs and you have a game that you want to have someone on the defensive side of the ball, call game, right? That's what you say all the time. Myles Garrett, go call game, strack fumble, get the sack, get the fumble, keep the clock rolling, whatever it might be. He's going to be a guy that has to do that for us. If we can get ourselves a lead, turn his ears and go, he's a guy that's going to have to show up in a big way for us down the stretch.
I mean, he has been the type of closer that you expect guys who are the top 5 paid in the league. And that's another just great job by the front office. Danielle Hunter's been unbelievable for Houston. So it's not like they didn't know Hunter was going to be great, but the idea was, can you find somebody a little bit better fit for the system for a little less money that might bring you the same production? He's brought even more production than Danielle Hunter. And they do a lot of it through blitzing, through moving Andrew Van Ginkel around, bringing Cashman up the middle. That has a limitation to it. If they block it up, well, they got you. And now he's going to sit back there. But you can't just block up that one-on-one guy who is so hard to beat time and time again. And there's a cumulative effect of an edge rusher getting around and around and around. I think the quarterback really feels that. Grenard is a good pick here. I'm gonna go try to go underrateds here. Cam Akers, I think, is really important because last night what they were able to do was rotate in Cam Akers and Aaron Jones. And Jones has looked more spry since Akers started to get more work. And the version of Aaron Jones that is full speed converts 3rd and 17 or whatever it was on a check down. I mean, he's special. And for a section of the season, he wasn't, because he was getting exhausted and banged up. Now Akers coming in, doing a pretty good job. I think that is a vital piece to the final stretch here. If he can give them strong to competent running back play when Jones is on the bench.
Yeah, give him 10 to 15 snaps a game, right? Give him 8 to 10 carries a game. Let him find ways to get the football in his hands because he's a bit more of a bruiser than Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones is old, right? But he still has that burst. He still has that speed. Cam, I mean, you see a picture of this dude, he is just a brick house. I mean, the dude is stacked. He needs to be that bruiser that's not afraid to 4 yards in a cloud of dust, continuing to pound and pound and pound and go and go and go. And then eventually he's going to be able to break it outside. The thing he needs to get better at is he's got to get better at his pass protection. His pass protection has not been very good this year. You don't want to have a tell of, hey, CJ Ham's in the game. They're throwing it, right? If he can get better at pass protection down the stretch here, he'll be a big threat of, hey, are they running? Are they passing? He won't be able to give a tendency there, but that's something he's going to have to clean up down the stretch here.
I think part of that, just to add in, is maybe still getting acclimated with some things that they may do differently. That surprised me his struggles have surprised me because he was good at it in the past.
Yeah, agreed. I'm gonna go a little bit of a dark horse here too. Dallas Turner,
He was on my list.
my man. That sack last night was chef's kiss. I mean, dip the knee, swing underneath, hit the ground, pop up, and murder Caleb Williams. Where has that been all year? I mean, the fact that he only has 2 sacks this year is outrageous. He is too athletic, way too good. We need to find ways to create matchups for him, whether it's lining him up over the guard, lining him up away from the blitz, so he's gonna or away from the blitz, so you know that the slide's not gonna come to him. He is too athletic, too much of a natural pass rusher to not send him after the quarterback multiple times, because you talk about now getting a couple of those guys with Grenard on one side, him figuring it out on the other side. That's that lethal, deadly combo that we saw for so many years back in 2017 with Ev and B-Rob or Evan Daniil. You have 2 of those werewolves coming off the edge, good things happen for you.
I think what last night did with that particular pass rush was, well, it put it in everybody else's mind. This is what that guy's capable of. So every other team, when they're prepping now, you better be ready for that. But it also might allow them to move Andrew Van Ginkel around a little bit more and just use how dynamic he is and not have to have him as an edge all the time, because you can have Dallas Turner. He's earned a lot more snaps, and his direction over the last few weeks has been a positive one. He crushed Kirk on that one play. He was tracking people down in space. You can see it starting to come together, and it's clicking at the right time because it's like adding a player that they didn't even have before. So he was on my list. I'll throw out one more. Everyone in the secondary. No, I mean, sort of, but I mean, Stephon Gilmore is going to come back, and he's on my list here because Fabian Morrow did a great job over this last few games. Just tremendous. I think they targeted him maybe 2 times in the game yesterday. Great job to come off the bench and be that guy. But they need the full version of Stephon Gilmore, the star corner, who was great at the beginning of the season and then I think got a little worn down toward the mid-year. This might have actually helped him if his hamstring can stay healthy. They need a game changer. They need somebody they can put on any receiver, because receivers that you're going to face in the playoffs, you look around, it's AJ Brown, it's maybe Mike Evans, it's maybe Puka Nacua. Like, they're going to need the absolute best version of Stephon Gilmore.
I completely agree. I mean, the NFC's receivers core is loaded and weapons like crazy, and not just one, but multiple per a team. You have to have the confidence from a defensive coordinator's perspective of where that guy goes. I don't worry about, I worry about the other side or whatever it might be. Or, hey, Harry, you need to cheat this way. Gilmore's got it set over there. So totally with you. He's going to be a really important piece coming down the stretch, because regardless of how good our pass rush is, if there's guys running wide open behind us, it doesn't matter because the ball's going to come out quick.
Okay, very quick. I think it's a good list. Very quick. Love to see it, hate to see it. I'll just start out with what I have here on my phone. This is the bowl schedule. Oh, it's season. Look what we got here. Memphis, West Virginia, and the Frisco Bowl. Yes. Boca Raton Bowl, Western Kentucky against James Madison. Yes.
Yep.
How about the LA Bowl between California and UNLV? That's not in LA, but yes. The answer is yes. Those are tomorrow. Georgia Southern versus Sam Houston State. Yes. I will be watching that. Oh, that is the New Orleans Bowl. How about the Cure Bowl? The Gasparilla Bowl. That's the one with the lawnmowers.
Oh, yeah.
All of
My
it.
favorite's the Pop-Tart Bowl, right? Where they cooked the guy alive last year and everyone was like, yeah, eat him, right? Like, that was phenomenal.
And you saw the trophy actually works.
Yes.
That's incredible. Yes. Just a few more coming next week. The Myrtle Beach Bowl. That sounds fun. Idaho Potato Bowl, a classic.
Duke Mayo Bowl.
Game Above Sports. No idea what that is, but I'll be watching it. 68 Adventures Bowl. They're one off. Rate Bowl, Armed Forces Bowl, Birmingham Bowl.
I want to see PJ Fleck covered in mayo. That is what I want. Yes. I want PJ Fleck with all that ooey gooey mayo just all over that bald head of his.
I mean, there's so, I'm still scrolling. There's so many of these. Yeah, the mayo over him just is kind of, you can't write that. So that's my love to see it.
My hate to see it is New England. Did we really think that Gerard Mayo was going to work? is this really what we thought was going to be the key, was to get Mayo and have the issues with Judon early and draft Drake May? And we all kind of saw this coming. I don't think it was a great hire to start with. The guys had really very little coaching experience when it comes to running a ball club. You move on from a great and you go to that. I think we all saw the writing on the wall, but you hate to see a guy get 14 games into his coaching career here and then get the axe.
Now, people are talking about, well, Kevin O'Connell's a former player and Dan Campbell's a former player and it's working. Not every former player is ready to be the head coach of a National Football League team. I mean, remember, KOC was the OC on a Super Bowl winning team for Sean McVay. It might be a little bit different of an experience than Gerard Mayo or Antonio Pierce, who's just, one week he tells his team they're terrible. The next week he's like, no, we're almost there. We just got to keep grinding. You're like, season's over. Dude. Like, what are you? He's like, well, it's going to work out eventually if we keep fighting. You're like, no, it's not.
No,
it's truly not. Like it already hasn't. It's been, excuse me. It's been a rough ride for some of the inexperienced coaches in the NFL. My hate to see it was just the moat between good and bad teams. It's a wide moat. You might call it an entire river. I mean, when the Ravens are playing the Giants, I'm like, is this the Gasparilla Bowl? This is just insanely bad to watch. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's just like pulling up his pants and run. I mean, that is the ultimate, your team is a joke. I would not have fired everyone in New York before. And then the guy ran while he was holding up his pants. I'm like, you're done. If someone can gain 30 yards with their pants falling down, your team can't play here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the have and the have-nots have never been wider in the NFL. I mean, and honestly, that early slate last week was just so bad, right? I mean, thankfully, the back-end slate brought it all back to life. But, yeah, I mean, you're watching the Titans and the Bengals turn the ball over a combined 10 times, and you're like, am I watching high school football? I mean, when was the last time there was 10 turnovers in an NFL game? This is ridiculous, right? So, yeah, it's gotten really bad. I love to see it. Boise State's going to host a playoff game. I want so badly to watch Penn State or Tennessee go play on that blue turf in Boise in December, my friends. It's going to be awesome. I am so excited for that game.
I watched a ton of Boise State this year because obviously their running back, Ashton Genty, so much fun.
I think it's got robbed, by the way.
Stuff. Everybody was deserving. I mean, there's not too many guys who play two positions. But Genty had an unbelievable season, was deserving. But that team can play, man. Like their quarterback can play. They got a line. Like I think they could cause some problems for some people. So we'll end on that bowl season, but also a playoff. You can yell about who's in it all you want, but once that thing starts, we have dreamed of this. We have dreamed of this day. It's like if you're a preteen and you think, if I just get that driver's license, my whole life I've been thinking, if they just had playoffs in college, how much fun would that be? Now it's some real playoffs. That'll be a lot of fun. So
I love it.
Speaking of a lot of fun, 12-2 football team that we will be watching the rest of the way, man. It is very exciting, and I am thrilled to have you as a part of it. So thank you very much for your time, Jeremiah.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Football.